Bill Taylor Ritchie was far better kent as Bill Taylor. He sailed in a Willow Bank FR 518 in the 1930s, and under a storm on the east coast, the skipper's two sons were swept overboard. One of them was drowned, and the other was washed back on deck. However, Bill Taylor was also washed overboard, and actually swam to the shore in heavy seas. He was a very tough character and strong swimmer. It was a remarkable feat. However, during World War II, Bill was the captain of the HMS Syringa, and he was sweeping in the English Channel when a Junkers 87 flew down and sprayed the deck with bullets, killing one of the gunners. The Junkers flew back and dropped a salvo of bombs. One of the bombs went through the deck and jammed in the engine room. Bill Taylor, with the help of Chief Engineer and Chief Petty Officer, went down to the engine room. Bill and the Chief Engineer dislodged the UXB and carried the bomb back on deck and threw it into the sea. For this, Bill was awarded DSC and the other two were awarded the DSM. One of the crew described Bill as a brass Scot.
War started and I'd catch me up there. I was in the territorial army, so I was a fortnight actually before the war started for a fortnight's holidays, not fortnight land, at least that for 7 years. A long fortnight. June 44, June 6. Dunkirk was bad, but I think Normandy was much worse. She was fighting your way and the areas being chased out of Dunkirk. It was fighting our way back into Normandy. Every inch of it. Oh well, Dunkirk wasn't a picnic either, because we was in action Arras Bapaume area when things get wrong, and we had to start marching back to Dunkirk for there, where our motors was supposed to be left for the infantry to come back a line in when they come out of action for their war, and we was supposed to be doing walking in front of them. So we marched our road down to Dunkirk. No food or nothing, just what you could pick up at the roadside. And we'll lay, I think we'll lay about a week on the beaches in Dunkirk before we got picked up there. But I was in the ends that weighed out the boat, we got out in the Bray Dunes, where the pier was blown up. Got aboard the Greyhound destroyer here, come here a minute. She was bombed on the road coming across, then she got back for another load and it was hit, seen. I didn't think she was sunk, but it was hit.
And so what was the difference with Normandy then? You said...
Well, Normandy was pushed out to the barge into the water. And you had to fight your way up the cliffs there. Well, now the cliffs was deep enough where we get in, it was a kind of road up. If we get up through Hermanville and Convoy, just the first few hours was off the boat and the snipers were still working there when we get through there. It was a bit of hairy kind, but it was the D-Day plus 2 that we get in, we didn't in the first day that we wait till we had a bit of room for us, the big guns, you see.
So how long did you spend there with the Normandy landing?
Well, I took you right through to Germany for there, you see, you get right on, right to end the war.
So was that June to June? That been June 44 to June?
May 45.
May 45.
Was V-Day, wasn't it? May.
Well, we was just outside Berlin at that time. Near Berlin, man. So I mean, all the troops was gathered around here and where Colonel got his jeep out and put a fight flag on it and drove into the commander here. Speartree wanted to fight till them, it was lined up on him, but that was the end of it. It was no short fight there.
So how long was it then before you got back again?
Oh, it was a while. That was dependent on your age a bit for getting back out.
He was demoted in
46.
46.
Aye. It about a year after that, a year and a month after that I got out. Was police in Germany a while, you see there. That was fun.
You're involved in that, aye.
Aye.
Aye. So tell us a wee bit about that.
Well, the Elmenhorst was stationed in a small place there. It's a nice place to be in, right enough. And we used to police all the area around about there. And it was a country area, and there was an old road get up, and there was about, I can't mean this in, there was about 6 or 7 farms get off in this road up into the crafts and farms. And the farmers was I complaining about their livestock and everything. They never thought what they stole during the war off of their folk, but Hoover was different when they were getting. And there was a Polish camp still there, about a half-mile far our own. And last night we would go up and wear gym shoes on, and we took a truck and we hid it in a barn halfway up, and we would lie the back of dikes and see far all the livestock was gone. The very pigs in the place that were truckers in was stolen that night, and we never saw here or hide a hen come out, we didn't for it good. That happened a few times there. Then by the time you can't well enough it was going into the Polish camp. But by the time you got down here and into the camp and searched it, there wasn't a blinking slice out left. It was all hidden, eaten or hidden. They could beat here right now.
Was that the Germans themselves doing it? Like,
no, the Polish was talking to it was before they got a war home for their camps. Oh no, the Germans were friends then. They were wanting us to save their stock, you see, but and we was trying to save for the fun of it, seeing for the stock was gone, and we never found out. We knew for it was gone, but we never managed to catch him. I know, it's a lot of good experiences after the war finished. We should have just been taking pen and paper and writing all that down at the time it was happening.
That's a good question. Like, what did you find, when you left this country, if the war started, where do you find your own localities now got again after you come back for the war? Did you find a lot of changes? Or?
No, there wasn't. Goodness, there was a lot of changes, really. Just enough a shortage, I think.
Was it full?
The biggest changes it was during that years was, I would say, was when we got into Germany, because Germany was far, far advanced to what our country was with a lot of different things. In fact, the contractors that we get overseas, we would, what was the name of the fuel pumps it was on? Bosch fuel pumps was in the tractors. And there was nothing like them. After they get done, the supplier, Germans get done, we get on the British scene, and they just weren't worth a hang. They couldn't, Sam's pumps weren't be compared the same day with the Germans. Of course, we couldn't get them then.
So, for you, do you go back for the war, Joe?
I get on to buses, a bus driver. I was 11 year bus driver, so first for Sutherland, then Alexander.
Bill Ritchie from Rosehearty was a navigator aboard the Lancaster during World War II, and he spent many missions over Germany.
Geordie said he shot him down. He says, I think I've shot him down. Of course, this was all happening at the rear, so I didn't again if he actually shot him down or not. But I did gain this, that we were firing last, and the fighter never bothered us again that night. So it was kind of we got over the target area, and fit when they had wired up there was a bomb switches for 24 and they were in rows of 6. Top 6 left, top 6 right, bottom 6 left, top, bottom 6 right. And whoever did the wiring had wired them up in the wrong cross. So the bomb hammer started Eric said it's time to drop the bombs, the mines. We're supposed to drop them at 3-second intervals, flying at a certain speed. And he says, number one going, and I said, Benny, I said, there's nothing left of plane. Number two going, and I'm telling him, Benny, there's nothing left of plane. The mines are now leaving. We never paid any attention. He got right through the hill rigmarole, and he said there was 6. And I said, Benny, I said, and they, oh, he said, they're all going. I said, there's nothing left to play. And I said, you can feel the jerk, you see. So I said, take a look on the Bombay. He looked at the Bombay, oh, God, he said, well, so I said to the navigator, Eric, and I checked first with the engineer. I said, we've got enough gas to get, you know, to spend an extra half hour over the target area here. The petrol, like I got gas now, but it was petrol in that day. And that's a Canadian expression, gas. So he looked, oh yeah, he says, it's okay. He said, we're good enough. So I said, Eric, come back as far as you can, even though it's 15 minutes, to pick up and make sure we can pick us up again. Because he had, on our H2A screen, in the area, we had to pick up a certain headland and then fly in a certain course before we started dropping. Now he'd already seen the photographs, and when we got back to base, as it turned out, the photographs was right on, we were in the right spot. But when we got back the second time, there was no proof, there was no more pictures to take. So we, only way I get out again, we started. Last time we got it right, it was wired up. I just pressed all the switches again for the and hooked up on. So we got it. Got them all, no problem. And then, with that half hour over at target, the wireless operator who had been still in contact with base said, we've got a message, you've got to go down to 2,000 feet, come across Denmark, I think it was at 2,000 feet, and that was it. So I thought, well, something near it, you know, but this, but excuse me. I did what I know I was doing, opened up the throttles, wanted to get out of the air as quick as I could, and was really travelling well over 300 miles an hour. You know, with a lamp could go on about 240, you know, flat out. 220, 240 in that range. And with when you're descending, of course, it was well over 300. And I can't, and they fight was going to be stalking us out without radar help. We got across Denmark without any problem. We're halfway home from the wireless operator, and I'm saying home now, I'm speaking about Inveraliki here, the aerodrome, thinking and getting on to the house and my mother, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, my flying boots on, just and thinking what she would say, and really looking forward to it. Instead of that, the wireless operator got come back with a message, and he says, we've got to return to base. And by this time we're well up, I would say, on the North Sea, possibly past Edinburgh, we were that far up. Another half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, or maybe an hour would have been up here. And I said, well, did you acknowledge? Because I think I would have still been tempted to come off. Oh, he says, I've acknowledged it. So I said, okay, well.
Till the war started. And then Navy, in 1949, went to Navy and went in as a civilian master with the Admiralty. And I stayed there until 1958. 1958, and was there up until that time. In 1948, I was chief officer aboard the Flamborough Head that was at Kyle. Kyle of the Halsh, and we were doing experiments with submarines until the pressure collapsed the hulls in depth. That was at the Crowlin, the hull at the Crowlin. There were 2 years in that job, and then I came back still in the Navy with the Admiralty to Rosyth, and we did a lot of experimental and survey work there right up until 1958. And then I came back to the fishing in 1958, back to the CNET, and I had 7 years at the CNET in Trollan, out of Fraserburgh. And after that we went to Strathclyde University for 7 years. 7 years there, skipper in a survey boat there, an oceanography section.